Hi, this week we want to talk about Turkey's and Turkey's two national interests, including the development with the Turkish oil and gas developments in the East Mediterranean region. And let's start now with what's going on with Libya and Syria, and then we will go to Mediterranean Sea development. What kind of development we are now seeing? What does it mean with these developments taking place in Libya and Syria, and how it's going to affect our relations with our neighbors? So let's start with. So, as I said, in Libya there are some rumors that Haftar is going to have a temporary, at least, ceasefire by end of February, and they are considering to do so. This is mainly after the meeting in Moscow, where Haftar withdrew to sign an agreement with the Libya national government. There was he sought to increase the military operations to Tripoli, but since Turkey has forecasted that it might happen, Turkey had sent heavy equipments, military equipments, to Tripoli, like tanks and artilleries and other things. So it can help the national government army to stop Haftar's army before Tripoli, because unless he advanced controlling some of the central points in the region of Tripoli, any peace seeking adventure will make him look like unsuccessful, and he was aware of it. That's why following the withdrawal or leaving Moscow, he increased the military options, and the Turkey's actions were successful in that regard, because now we are hearing that Haftar is really considering to reach a consensus, at least a ceasefire, by end of February, maybe, looks like. And if that really takes place, it's a great success for the Libyan army, and also including Turkey. So what we are going to expect, because Haftar has done two things, major things. One, by mid of January, he has started to close the taps of the two pipelines providing oil to countries, to nations, with a capacity of 1.2 million barrels per day. Once they close the tap, or a little bit close the tap, it might have the possibility to withdraw, like to reduce to almost 75,000 barrels per day. And this is a huge hit back to national government because of the economy. But there are two things that we should not forget about Haftar. Everybody is talking how big land Haftar is taking control of it, but Libya is not like that. The demographic part of Libya is more spared along the sea coast, especially around Tripoli. 60-65% of the population, the Libyan population, is around that region. Meaning that although Haftar is holding 80-85% or 90% to some of lands in Libya, 60-65% of the population is under the control of the central government or the Libyan Accord government. Meaning that Haftar is only controlling the land and the resources, but not the people. So once he is closing the taps, he is also putting a pressure on the Libyan Accord government because of the economic and also the resources that he needs to supply to army, because the money will be cut. And what he is also claiming, that he wants a fair share from these sales. So most likely in a possible ceasefire talks, these issues will be on the table, it will be talked. So, but from the top point, from the helicopter view, we can only really claim that and say that with almost 100% accuracy that if this will happen, it will be still the success of the Libyan Accord government, because it stops the advancement of the Haftar army, and also it will gain time, and also so they can really fulfill, or they can really buy other military equipments, or train some people or soldiers in order to replace their missing strength. So we do not still foresee that this is going to be a very lengthy ceasefire. However, we do see that both sides are going to work on replacing their missing parts in this forthcoming fight. But it seems like the wind has changed. So there's a great now opportunity for the Libyan Accord government to win in this very lengthy fight with Haftar in future. Having said that, let's go to Syria. Now in Syria, there is something happening. Maybe after a very long time, the Turkish army and the Syrian army directly, although said not, but directly opened fire to each other. A week ago, or 10 days ago already, 5 Turkish soldiers were killed during envoy from Turkey to the watch towers, or these areas, while they were driving. And then another 5 have been killed by the Syrian artillery forces. The Syrian regime claims that they consider them as a terrorist because nobody have informed them, which means like Syrian army wants to have a direct link with the Turkish government in that regard, so they will be legitimized because Turkey as a government disregard them, and they talk over Moscow. Now, we said also in our previous program that it was a direct fault and also intention that Moscow is giving to Turkey, because Moscow is not happy with the Turkish advancement neither in Libya or also in Syria. Now, for Erdogan, there are 2 things. First, politically, he cannot be seen as losing. That's why he will do anything to make this stop. Second, 1.5 million people around Idlib, if they come to Turkey, is a big problem to Turkey in terms of political pressure, economic pressure, and also cultural pressure. Because the economy is so fragile, it's going to add enormous pressure on this fragile economy. But the other issue, and there is something important that we have seen, is the role that the Americans are now taking. Like last week, the American, I believe, air fighter have opened fire against either a Syrian air fighter plane, or a helicopter, military helicopter, and downed it. And then the American soldiers have countered the Russian envoy in Syria, which caused attention between 2 sides. The American support to Turkey is very important to Turkey, and also is a message to Moscow. Turkey needs a global power to align with, because it's not as strong as it claims or it wants to be. Everybody knows about this. Secondly, it gives a message to Moscow that Americans' intention is to break the strong links that was supposed to be established between Ankara and Moscow, and Washington is really concerned about that. So these messages are already well taken and evaluated by, I think, both or multiple parties in Syria. So why Erdogan also cannot lose this? Because whatever Putin wants from Erdogan is, do not intervene in Ukraine, because you are a NATO member. I don't want NATO to be powerful via Turkey's lands or maritime because it has an access to Ukraine directly. But the Russians, they do not understand the fact that whatever Ukraine means to Russia, Syria also has the same importance to Turkey. And while the Russians are supporting the Assad regime over there, which is now killing the Turkish army soldiers, it creates a very big concern in Turkish, not only government, but also in the community. If the Russians are going to continue with this strategy and policy, eventually what we have already projected by end of 2019, 31st of December, you can watch this. The links between Moscow and Ankara is going to break into pieces. It will take place, it is already taking place at this moment, and it will either by end of 2020 or mid 2021, but for sure it should be by end of 2021. And these links will be broken into pieces, which means it's coming to an end. It is eventually a historical moment, it will be, because while the US has left the Syrian land in great role, we should not forget that we needed another balance force or a power so that the relations between Ankara and Moscow can be rebalanced, but it is now missing. And because Putin supports Assad with Iran, and Ankara is alone looking after its own interest. And Moscow, if not understanding what Ukraine means to Moscow and Syria means to Turkey, it will be a great mistake for Russia, because then Turkey is going to claim a role in the Ukraine conflict with Russia. And the signals are already coming that Turkey is considering to do so, because Moscow is not changing its strategy. If so, the links will eventually break into pieces, as we have already forecast by 31st of December 2016. 2019. Now, what's the development in the Eastern Mediterranean Sea? Turkey is buying its third oil exploration ship vessel. It's going to be, I think, in March in Turkey, or April at most, and then it's going to be re-equipped, remodernized, and so on and so forth. So by summertime, we expect the third ship to be in service, which means that Turkey is pushing its limits in order to intensify and increase the investment in finding oil and gas in either Mediterranean Sea or in Black Sea. Now, the third ship is message to all neighboring countries, including Russia, United States, Cyprus, Israel, Egypt, Libya, European Union, and Greece, for sure. It means that President Erdogan is not going to give up its strategy, and Turkey's hunger to energy, which is already 25% is all budget, needs to be reduced. I mean, if we are doing this, it means that we want to reduce the cost of oil to our national budget, so that this deviation between what it might be and what is now, let's say 10% of this, or let's say 20-25% of this energy budget can be reduced to maybe 15 to 20%. So this deviation can be used for other economical development programs, such as building new factories, increasing the R&D for military investments, including social and also science and other things. So that's why Turkey is pushing hard to find oil and gas in the Mediterranean and Black Sea. Once it is found, discovered, Turkey, I believe, plans to attract the investments, so that the economy will also, activities will increase in Turkey. So this is very paramount for Turkey. That's why nobody should expect that Turkey is going to withdraw from these studies or actions or approach, and it will only get intensified. So in the summertime there will be more tension between EU, Turkey, EU, United States, Russia, Turkey, and United States, Turkey, Egypt, Turkey, and all these regional and neighboring countries with Turkey, including Russia and United States, let's say. If you like this video, please, there is a like button underneath this screen. Please press on it. And if you subscribe also to our channel, we will be happy to share with the videos that we publish at first video. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Bye.